Yeah.
Okay.
Me also.
Yeah. I spend more time in front of the camera than she does.
I'm the editor.
That's make sure wrinkles.
Hello, it's Marc, Julie, RV Love. We've been on the road since May of 2014, so we're pretty newbies to this. So only been about 7-8 months so far.
Newbies. Look at them now, jaded veterans.
Jaded veterans.
So what do you said something about your pants?
Well, what's so funny is this was filmed in February of 2015, and you can't see my pants in this. And that is the first time I ever used my iron in the RV was to iron my linen pants for this interview because we were so excited and nervous to be interviewed by Chris and Cherie of Technomadia, and you can't even see the pants. And I've never used the iron again since.
That's so awesome.
Don't pack an iron in the RV. You're just really not ever going to use it.
But, yeah, I don't even remember noticing your pants then, so you know. That's...
They're lovely and ironed, kind of looking. That is so funny. We look so young.
We do
We've
look like
aged.
we've aged a bit.
We have aged a bit. Yeah. Oh,
Well, that was all in the last 6 months, I thought.
I think a lot of the aging has been
2018 has been a lot of aging. Yeah,
Yes.
we packed like 3 years into 1 year this year, so yeah.
All right.
it's
Well,
very
let's
funny.
have you watch this footage.
Mhm.
It's unedited. I haven't spliced it
Okay.
up yet.
I'm impressed you still have it.
And yeah, I had about 3 episodes. I never got around to producing because we got tired.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's let you watch
It's
it,
gonna
and
be
then
funny.
I'd love to do a little update on it, and then we'll
Okay.
get this published.
Cool.
Sure, that'd be great.
Cool.
Age range or age,
this
your
is
blog name,
hilarious.
and then when you started RV, full-time RV.
Okay.
I'm really pretty confident Chris did this on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me also.
Yeah. I spend more time in front of the camera than she does.
Alright.
I'm the editor.
That's make sure wrinkles.
Hello, it's Marc, Julie, RV Love. We've been on the road since May of 2014, so we're pretty newbies to this. So only been about 7-8 months so far.
Newbies. Look at them now, jaded veterans.
Jaded veterans.
So what do you said something about your pants?
Well, what's so funny is this was filmed in February of 2015, and you can't see my pants in this. And that is the first time I ever used my iron in the RV was to iron my linen pants for this interview because we were so excited and nervous to be interviewed by Chris and Cherie of Technomadia, and you can't even see the pants. And I've never used the iron again since.
That's so awesome.
Don't pack an iron in the RV. You're just really not ever going to use it.
But, yeah, I don't even remember noticing your pants then, so you know. That's...
They're lovely and ironed, kind of looking. That is so funny. We look so young.
We do
We've
look like
aged.
we've aged a bit.
We have aged a bit. Yeah. Oh,
Well, that was
God.
all in the last 6 months, I thought.
I think a lot of the aging has been
2018 has been a lot of aging. Yeah,
Yes.
we packed like 3 years into 1 year.
Hello, we've got audio. Hopefully people can hear us.
Hi, everybody.
Hello!
And remember to look at the camera, not ourselves.
Yes! I just had that thought.
Yes. I mainly say that for me because I always forget.
Who's in the camera? Oh, wait. Okay, I gotta make sure my head's not cut off. That's important. There we
There you go. All
I
right.
am
Well,
posting now.
Good evening, and yeah, she's still doing social media.
are. She sent out the announcement that she's going to be doing a live video about
Like an
20
hour
minutes ago.
No, it's an hour. before. What are you talking about?
She was writing it the entire time we've been hanging out this afternoon.
Anyway, if you are kind of new to our channel, I am Cherie,
I'm Chris.
and we are Technomadia, and these are our friends,
Marc and Julie.
also known as RV
RV
Love.
Love. And we first met them
4 years ago this week?
this week.
This week,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, just a couple days ago, 4 years ago. So it's out in the middle of the desert, boondocking.
Near Yuma, Arizona. I think it was Winter Haven.
We were at
American
American
Girl
Girl
Mine.
Mine, which
Yeah.
is a great boondocking spot that gives you great access if you want to cross the border for the dental or tacos or tequila. We were not, none of us were there for that.
Yeah, no, it was just,
We were
it was
just
great
all
boondocking.
randomly
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And what's unusual is we're used to being recognized, and we're usually oblivious to recognizing other people. And we're going up for a walk, and we saw this RV come in, and they have a Mini Cooper pulling behind their motorhome.
And at first, they like parked, you know, probably about a quarter mile away from us. And we're like, God damn it, somebody's infringing on our territory, because we had found this really great boondocking spot. There was nobody else in sight, and then they park, and we could still see them. And it's like,
yeah, they're like a little tiny dot. Chris is kind of over embellished.
It was
always-
definitely a tiny dot.
yeah. So we walked that quarter mile down, and Cherie's like, I think I know who those people are.
Because I had just spent about 2 months in the forums with Julie, going back and forth, trying to, because they had just joined our mobile internet site that we had just launched. Like, you were one of our first members.
We joined in October 2014.
We
and
launched it in September.
Exactly.
So they're one of our very first members.
Yeah.
And honestly, the number of questions this lady asked
Really? I don't even remember.
made me question if I was getting into the right business or not. Because, like, oh my gosh, is this going to be...
Yeah,
is this why all
so
members are going
sorry.
to like?
I'm
No.
sorry.
we were charging by the year instead of by the question. We're like, should we rethink our business model?
No, it was great.
I didn't know this.
Because it really, really helped us define what we offered in the content we needed to
Right.
have ready. Because,
Yeah.
you know, we're just launched. We're brand new. We're
Right.
still trying to figure out what the business model is.
Yeah.
But I had been aware of you guys, which is unusual because we don't normally have time to track too many people.
But it was particularly because we're also towing a Mini Cooper, and so that like, hey, how many other people are towing a Mini Cooper? Us, and I think you guys really.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
The bright
Cherie-
orange one at that.
Yeah, and so Cherie recognized it, and it was a convertible too. And we're like, because we were lusting after a Mini Cooper convertible. And we're like, dang, they got a car we want.
So we actually recognize them and approach them, which
Nah.
is rare for us to
Might
do,
be the
which
only
is
time we've done it.
Well, not
one
only
of
that,
them.
how long had we been on the road? We'd been on the road full time as RVs for 8 months.
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
RV Love was very much a hobby, you know, on the side, blog and YouTube channel. And so we weren't known. Like, Technomadia was famous. They were celebrities. I mean, when we...
and we were nobodies back then too.
We were still getting set up in the
Right.
campsite, and Mark came in and he said, I think Technomadia is walking up to our RV. I'm like, what? No. And he's looking out the window. I'm looking at him like, oh my God, it is Technomadia. And you walked right by us. And
And
then,
we were scoping you out.
And then,
Yeah.
so I was actually on my phone. It's like, okay, who was that couple that was asking those questions about the Verizon Unlimited Data plan?
About a Mini
And they had like
Cooper.
2 Verizon plans. Why would they want 2 Verizon plans? Okay, well, okay. I'm looking it up and I go to your blog. Say, nope, that's them. That's them. Okay, Chris, how do people do this? I mean, I really got an appreciation for folks that are courageous enough to approach bloggers in person. Because it's intimidating. Because I was intimidated coming
Knocking
up
on
to
your
you
door?
guys.
Yes.
Because
really?
This is crazy. Yeah.
Well,
Because-
we don't knock on anybody's door. Period. It's
We're,
like
we're introverts.
Yeah,
we're not the
we
type
wait
of
for
people
people
who
to
are
talk
going
to
to
us.
go say hi to people in the campground. Never mind out boondocking.
But we thought it was cool that you were members of the site, and that you just happened to be on our square mile of desert where we had specifically sought being by ourselves. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did come and knock on our door.
It was
We
perfect.
probably wouldn't have come and knocked on yours because we know that you're introverts and we know that you like your
Right.
time and space, and we
Right.
truly respect that.
I
and
waited
so-
until you were outside. No, we didn't
Yes.
actually.
That's why we
Yeah.
were walking past.
We were walking in
They
circles.
were stalking us.
Finally, we get to do it.
Yes. So that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago,
Wow.
just a few days ago.
And then we filmed an interview with you guys because Cherie was producing a Ramblings video series back then,
Yeah.
and
Which I think I'd seen all of them by then.
yeah,
I was
we
watching
did
them.
30.
Oh,
of
just
them.
on your iPhone. I remember sitting there being fascinated by your new iPhone 5 that you were recording it on, and I was very impressed.
And now we have an iPhone XS. And
I
we're
know it,
still
and I'm-
ahead of you technology.
I'm jealous.
Oh, by the way, did they comment that the audio's good?
I don't know. I'm getting no
We've
comments.
just been rambling because the series was called Ramblings, and now you know why.
Oh, there
because
we
that's
are.
what we've been doing.
Yes.
But we've got We've got quite a few people on the call today. So this is Mark and my first time on a YouTube live, actually. So we're really excited to be on here with you guys and
Nice.
having you driving the
See,
technology.
that's why it's good. We got to come here and let them run the technology because anything technology. It's been actually fun this afternoon to be hanging out and seeing all the other technology they have. That's just we
That makes
realize
them
how
take a
far
Maddie
behind we
out.
are.
You got wires strewn across. Because normally we're broadcasting from the computer over there, but since there's 4 of us, got little things.
We've got
little
quite a few
content.
people.
I'm
on
not,
the call,
not
that's
getting
good.
any comments on
Well, then,
on audio.
so
but,
then I assume
but,
there's audio.
That's a good thing.
But the Dinklers would like to know where the wine is, and I think that is a
That is
very
the-
important
Fred and
first
Christelle.
question.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know the Dinklers?
Oh,
Have you
yes.
met them?
Yes,
You've ballooned with them.
Yes. So and so have you.
We
More
love
stuff we
Fred
haven't-
and Christelle
Yeah.
Dinkler, and if you've seen any of our videos about hot air ballooning, we were ballooning for the first time at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. Is that from the Dinklers, that one?
No, this wine is not. They did
Oh.
bring us some lovely wine that's become one of our favorite wineries, the Beckler Winery there in Fredericksburg. This wine was sent to us by Mel and Linda. some longtime followers
Thank you.
from Paso Robles. They live in wine country out in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, we have always had the like send us a virtual bottle of wine thing on the website where people can send money that we used to buy wine,
And, and Mel and Linda decided to send us real wine.
which was the first, and that was awesome. And we've had people deliver real wine, but this is like we got a shipment of like signed adult signature delivery only from California.
Wow.
Marina was kind of held at hostage. They
It's
wanted
a
it.
fancy wine.
So this is a cork pop. It's also
Wow.
used. You can stab vampires in the heart and make their hearts explode with gas.
Really?
Yeah.
So not only we're learning technology from you, we're learning about wine
Vampire-
purpose and how to get people to send you wine for free. We have to learn how to do this.
You can kill vampires with it.
There you go.
That's what pops in my
vampire
head here.
Well, it's good
So-
to have dual purpose. In an RV, you always want something dual purpose because
Yeah,
your
so-
space and weight
in a
limited,
boat.
so you got to have.
Yeah,
Dual
so
purpose
opening wine and fending off vampires. That's good dual usage.
And
There's a little
entertaining
dribble
the
there.
audience. Very cool.
Guys.
Well, cheers.
Yeah.
So-
there we go.
Cheers, everyone. Thank
Cheers
you for
to you
joining us on the
guys.
call tonight. Thank you for organising it.
Thank you for coming up here.
And thank you for stalking us and knocking on our RV door 4 years ago this week. So it was so cool that you did that because we got to stand outside and chat, and as we were standing,
Gosh.
I
Okay,
can
so
try
it's
it, yeah.
Very
Hold
fun.
on.
That's really nice.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, it's good to have people in wine country.
Oh, that is
Wow.
excellent choice,
And
Mel
we
and
will
Linda.
be
Wow.
putting our
Thank you.
delivery address in the comments. But
That is one of the benefits of being someplace long term. We have a delivery address. Is we've had a couple of people send us cards and letters,
Yeah.
which has
Yeah,
been really.
over Christmas is always nice. Actually.
It was a really nice treat to have that physical connection with some of our followers.
Yeah, 'cause you guys have been here for. You guys were.
It'll be 4 months when we leave next month.
We arrived Halloween, and we came for a
probably
week.
your longest stay for a
It's
while.
our second longest stay since we've hit the road. Our longest was when we spent 5 months in the Virgin Islands. So
Wow.
Sanford's really ranking up there for us.
Well, it's
You
a
mean since
cool
you hit
town.
the road, like even just way back 11 years
Yeah,
ago?
13
like your
years ago.
entire
13.
13.
Yeah, out of
I
our
keep
13
can't even
years.
keep up. 13.
Other than I guess when we were like at your house when you were waiting for your house to sell and surgery
Right,
stuff.
so
and,
we
yeah.
did 7 months on the road as a trial. We came back to my house in Florida had not sold, and I needed major surgery. So we actually were there for 6 months, tending to the surgery and
building our Oliver.
having the Oliver custom built, and then getting the house really ready to sell. So
Yeah. And
that
that
would
was
probably-
your second RV.
yeah, but we did a lot of RV trips during that time.
Right, true.
So,
So yeah, we were in and out.
Very
But yeah,
cool.
we've loved Sanford, and so we've been here, and we're planning to leave in March. But yeah,
It's a really nice area. I really like the development that's
Okay.
happening here. It's very cool.
all right.
So we got some questions rolling in.
Yes, we do.
Put your questions down in
Yes,
the comments.
yes, do put the questions in the comments. We do have the super chat enabled. If you care to use that feature, we will be sharing the love with RV Love on that. If any come in, and the super chat is also makes your comment more visible for us to actually see in this small chat screen, so it helps with that as well.
but don't feel obligated.
Don't feel obligated,
That's
but
just for
if
fun.
you would like to say thank you for these folks being here, that's a great way of saying thanks.
Thank you.
So Dennis asks, RV Love, how are you liking your new diesel pusher? Would you recommend a used diesel pusher now with your experience?
We would, and then to most, it always depends on the individual situation. Though when we talk to somebody, we don't just flatly recommend a type of RV for anybody. Because everyone's needs are so different. The coach that we hit the road with originally, our gas motorhome, served us very well for the
We
first
loved
3
it.
years. It was
Yeah.
really great, and we don't have any regrets in purchasing that. But that said, we do absolutely love our new coach.
Our needs changed.
Yeah, the needs changed, both in floor plan and in needs for carrying capacity and for style. Yes, I do know that the driving is far superior, but
Diesels are a lot more expensive, and that's what we were new. So we wanted a newer coach because we were newbies. We were 5 years ago. We were researching, and where maybe some of you are now. I mean, there's a lot of experienced people watching as well, and some newbies. But that's what
That's a big
we
driver.
felt more comfortable with a newer coach back then. As a
We
newbie.
did. I think one of the biggest advantages of a diesel is there is a higher element of safety in that they have superior power, but also superior braking and load carry capacity. So the safety element, I think, is higher on a diesel. But all of them,
We love it.
depending on individual needs, we'd recommend a Class B. So it all depends. So
No one size fits all. And I
Yeah.
think that's frustrating for a lot of people.
And-
So, well, what's the best RV? Like, well, that's
wa-
like saying, what's the best car?
What's the best mobile internet solution?
No, your diesel,
Right.
your diesel pusher. What year is it now?
99,
And you went
Last
from
century.
You know what?
2012.
Our vote is a 99 too.
Is it
Something
really?
else we have in common
Last
now.
century.
that's one thing I like about. There's so many of the diesel pushers, the high end ones from 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They are built to such a higher quality level that
definitely.
after 20 or 30 years, they are still in really great shape in some cases.
Yeah.
If they've been taken
And
care
the biggest
of.
depreciation hit has already happened.
So
And-
that's
Right. So you
this-
don't feel bad about ripping things out and redoing them, like you're going to be
we
revealing
didn't
what.
we didn't want to do it. Like in our Tiffin, and as Mike said, we loved that coach. It worked great for our needs, but it was a lot of brown and beige. I would have loved to have changed that from a decor point of view, but it was still new enough that I didn't. That wine is really good. And
Thank you,
but
Token James.
thank you. But yeah, I mean, just I wasn't brave enough to make changes to the color
Right.
and the decor of that being newer because it, would have destroyed the resale value. But that what was that a 2012? But here now with a 1999, it's like, we'll do whatever we want, and we did, and that's coming
that's
up.
fun. Isn't it fun to do that?
Well, it totally makes it your own. There's no other RV that looks remotely like ours.
Yep.
No,
It doesn't
ours
even
is
look like an
truly
RV
unique.
anymore, actually.
The outside, there's others that find, but the inside,
The inside
truly
doesn't even-
unique.
yeah.
I can't wait till we get
It's
a tour.
more like in a
We're going to
hopefully
go down
apartment
and
now.
visit them soon and go
Yes.
see their RV. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that
Looking forward to it.
renovation series is going to be starting next
Next week.
So we're finally going to start releasing that. We've been wanting to get that out for a while, but it's been...
So we shouldn't bring a secret stealth camera and
Broadcast it.
do RV Love undercover.
Whatever, maybe. Depends if you're going to bring a bottle of that wine. I might be able to be persuaded.
we know how to get to it now.
Or bubbles are good too.
All right,
There she goes.
so we have a question from Rick. I think this one is directed at us, but I'm going to let you answer it.
Oh, don't make it too technical.
No. Do we
goodness.
still have a bug problem?
Yes and no. There's it's nowhere near the level that had been previously described to us with the cover completely with black bugs, but there are still visible midges around here, considering this isn't technically midge season, right?
Right.
We've managed a couple weeks without a really bad outbreak.
We had a bad one last week.
There's
Yeah,
none
that's
inside,
true.
which is good for
Yes, there
me.
is.
So
See right up there?
Mark hates
Yeah,
bugs.
there's
In
one.
fact,
that was
There's
my
one.
biggest
There's one.
concern when we were hitting the road. When people ask, "What is your biggest thing you're afraid
biggest
of?"
fear.
I was afraid there'd be too many bugs when I
Yeah.
was traveling full time.
Seriously, that
And
was his biggest concern, was the bugs.
And
The
it's
desert
been,
Southwest
Wait a
is
minute.
wonderful
On,
that way.
on our interview, you said your biggest concern was mobile internet.
Well,
Were
it
you
was
just
initially-
buttering us up?
well, because
Probably a little
before,
bit.
because that was after we had decided we're going to go on the road. Because the mobile internet is what allowed us to be able to have it even an option.
To have the bugs.
We hadn't
Right,
gone to
have
Bugland.
the bugs weren't even on the table until we realized the viability of the lifestyle because of
Okay,
what you
okay.
guys produce. So
All right, so for context, we are in Sanford, Florida right now, and there are these little bugs called midges, which
Demon
hatch from the
bugs.
water. They don't bite, thankfully.
Or we would be dead by now.
But they swarm the boat, and we're not supposed to be in mid-season right now. But since we've been here since October, we've had probably 5 major swarms, and like swarms where we had to use shovels to get them off the boat in the morning.
Yeah, and
Not
where
gonna
we have
hate
to
that.
vacuum several times a night. We have to vacuum the ceiling inside because enough of them are getting through little cracks that they're just swarming inside too. We've got a taste of it. If you go back, we've got several videos ago, like a midge invasion video where we live streamed from an attack. And
That was
you'll get-
done Christmas evening, I believe, or the day after Christmas.
It's
It was
amazing
near-
you
it was
even
near Christmas,
stayed,
yeah.
because he
Merry
would have been out of
Christmas.
here, wouldn't you? You wouldn't have stayed.
So that gives you some perspective on how awesome Sanford is that we've been through that.
Good point.
Also, remember at the time we had no working engines because our turbos were out for rebuild.
Oh, that's also why you were stuck then.
So we were
we
literally
couldn't
stuck.
leave.
You had no
actually
choice.
just this week we got our boat out for the first time on the water to test all the systems, to spend a night out anchored. It was so great to be back on the water. But of course the midges did show up at night on the
Yes, they
anchor
did.
while anchored
Is it a
out.
Florida thing, the midges?
Freshwater lakes.
Freshwater
oh,
lakes, and especially lakes that are subject to runoff, industrial runoff.
No,
So
not
they-
industrial, agricultural,
Agricultural,
fertilizer.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so the agricultural runoff, a lot of the South Florida sludge is basically making its way up here because they've banned it from the Okeechobee.
Yeah, so
Right.
apparently
There
that's
you go.
increasing the midge
Yes.
season.
Ooh, someone just sent a $5.
Who is it? We can toast them.
Cheers, let's toast them.
I
What's
know
their
this
name? Who is it?
So this is
Cheers.
from Marnine.
Maureen, thank you
cheers,
very
Thank
much.
you.
It says, love both of you, or rather all of you.
Aw.
And a ton of
So
ton.
this is a really good way for anybody that wants to see Technomadia and RV Love get a little bit tipsy. Is just you just keep doing the.
Yes,
super-
I think that's what we do. We'd have a toast every super time.
No, that was actually what got us in trouble. When we launched our RV Success School years
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
we did a toast for every
person that signed
that
up.
signed up.
in the morning
And we
after
had been
pulling an
working,
all-nighter.
we had been working obscene hours and worked all-nighter, so we were super tired already. But then we toasted that morning, and then we were...
Do you want to explain what the
You
RV
betcha.
Success School is? Because not all of this audience would know.
Sure, yeah. It's an online school that allows to help teach people how to more successfully hit the road in an RVing journey. And so it helps them learn, as we learned from Technomadia many years ago, we wanted to create content that can help other people learn to make the road smoother for them to transition to the road.
Which is a huge help to us because that means we no longer have to teach people.
You don't have those questions.
We'll handle
No,
the internet questions,
no,
and then
we-
everything else, like, black tanks, talk to these guys.
Or
RV
we'll send them to
geeks,
you guys or
yes.
to Brendan and Carenza of doing the RV Freedom. You both have different kind of
I
takes
think
on
the
the
most
same.
important thing is everyone just gets educated
Yeah,
because you
find-
don't know what you don't know
Yeah, find
when
what
it comes
clicks
to the
for
RV
you.
life.
And
And then of course
Yeah.
these guys, this book, guys, is amazing. If you've not gotten a copy, this was their pride and joy last
this was
year
their
that they wrote.
year of their life went into
This
that.
is the
Yes.
very first book on the RV lifestyle to be published by a major publishing house.
Yeah,
There's a lot of books that you can find that are self-published on Amazon, and they're great too.
yeah.
But this
Hey.
is the first one that is published by a major
Yeah.
house.
like in Costco's and in Barnes and Nobles, and you
Yeah.
got a second printing just happening, or
Second
Right,
print,
so
that's
that's
exciting.
very exciting. We actually were at the Tampa, Florida RV Super Show last month where we saw you guys while you were out shopping for Class Bs for another phase in your nomadic journey. And we called the publisher to say, can we order another 100 books to be able to have for our meetups at the show? And they said, no.
you can't
Well,
have
why
it.
not? And we're sold out and we've got another print run underway. So that's pretty cool after 6 or 7 weeks of the release date. So,
So guys,
thank
we-
you all for buying it and reading it and
We need to
reviewing
do
it.
another. RV
Yes.
Frida just sent $1.99.
Oh.
yeah,
So-
awesome.
So, for those of you that don't know, RV Frida is in chapter 2 of the book. I think she's in chapter 2. Thank you, Frida. We love her story. If you don't know Frida's story, she was 69 years old. Her husband had passed away, and she thought her life was. She thought she was done. In her words, she's like, I'm done. And then she discovered RVing, bought an old RV, and spent some money on it to get it all road ready, and drove up to Alaska and spent the summer in Alaska and made a whole new group of friends in Seward. And she's
For
been
her
traveling
70th
for her 70th
birthday,
birthday
and
as a
she's
solo
solo
woman.
female.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Solo female, 69 now, 70. I think she's now 71. She's been on the road 2 years. Frida, we love you. We love your story, and thank you for sharing it.
Awesome.
And Chris and Cherie in chapter 7 on work, and thank you for sharing your story in the book too.
So
That was-
Frida has a question for you guys.
Okay.
She would like to know how your bug zapper is working these days.
Oh, we love
Because
that.
that one night when Frida actually came to our home
In
and
Colorado.
in Colorado and Salida, and we Julie was getting the bug zapper out. We have a little tennis racket looking thing that's
It's like 10
little
bucks.
bug zapper that she was having a big show with that night, and so that's a fun memory. Thank you, Frida.
Okay.
Yes.
So Peter
Bugs
and John
zapper.
of the RV Geeks are
my
here.
gosh.
Oh,
Hey,
fantastic!
cheers to Peter and John.
They don't have to send money; they get a toast anyway.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
miss
They're,
you guys. Come over.
they're in chapter 7 too.
We love Peter and John.
We've met them, I don't know, maybe 5 times now, and in 3 different countries. The first time we met Peter and John was in Australia. in
Yeah, how
April
crazy is that?
2016.
That as full-time
April
RVers,
2016.
as
Wow.
full-time RVers in America, the
We
first time we
overlapped
meet
by
them
one day.
is in Australia.
Was it planned, or did you just have
No,
to see
we,
them on the
we,
street?
we didn't never met them before.
It was
we
thanks to audience.
One
actually.
of our audience,
Oh,
we
nice.
put a YouTube video up saying we were going to Australia. One of our audience said, "Hey, the RV Geeks are down there," and we'd of course been following them from day
think
one,
that was
like
me,
Chris and Cherie.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't you. No, it was
I
someone else.
think, I'm pretty sure I let them or
Really?
you know that you guys are all in the
And
same
so
place.
they were new to
Good
Instagram
chance.
at the time, and so we started following each other on Instagram.
nice.
And they were in an RV driving from Cairns down to Sydney. For those of you that don't know, I'm Australian. We were in Sydney
I
about
couldn't
to go
tell.
up to Cairns.
Wow, what happened to your
Right.
accent? You must have lost it years ago.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
How
we
fun.
were keeping in touch on Instagram, and it turns out we overlapped by one day in Sydney. We met down at Sydney Harbour at the Opera House and had drinks. And the first thing I did was look at Peter's hands.
The
Because
famous hands.
The famous. I'm like, show me these famous hands. I
Insured
took
by
a photo
Lloyd's
of
of London
them.
for $1 million.
They should be
Mhm.
for doing the RV. But now we love that RV Geeks show their faces on the videos much more than just their hands.
huh? Yeah, we liked that. I think they joined us. All right, we just got
they
another
came
tip.
out with us.
Wow,
It
people are liking the tips.
came in.
We need to. They
All right,
like that.
our
we drink.
village just sent us $7.39.
Oh,
Hey,
thanks,
that's a
Curtis.
good amount, but thank you,
Curtis.
Curtis. Here's to our village.
And we are all making sure we look each other in the eyes, because you know what happens if you don't look someone in the eyes
That's right.
when you toast.
We know.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
what
not worth the
7
risk.
years of bad sex, and
Not worth the risk.
so we all make sure we look each other in the eyes. All right, I think there's
More
some.
questions.
I think there's some
We
more
do really
questions.
like our village. It actually really helps us meet up with a lot of people. That,
Yeah.
Yes, and
it's
we're
a great
thrilled to
tool.
have helped Curtis with
They
launching
helped build it.
It's
Yeah.
a
You
pride
guys
and
were
joy of ours
instrumental,
to have been
yeah.
involved with that. And I think we pitched you guys on were you guys on the road at the time? No, not when we launched, because you guys hit the road after
It
we
was
launched.
we hit the road in 2014, which is I think when our village launched.
Right,
We're
we
actually going to be
launched-
catching up with Curtis in a couple of
And
weeks.
is Tiki? You're going
You're
to go
going
see
to
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
are,
yes.
and
Brian.
and our village rally, ourvillagerally.com is that we're going to be at that
You might be
event.
going
I know. Can we tell people?
to. I have to get an RV first.
Yeah. Or if we
You
don't
can't take
get it,
boats to the Our Village rally.
No, he didn't put it at a marina.
Oh,
Curtis, come on.
I know.
But,
Marina Village.
well,
is
that would be
still,
cool if you came to the rally. So if anyone out there is looking for
We
something
are
fun to do
making
with
full
them.
intentions, and we are kind of planning our March plans around.
See,
either
they just
renting in
continue
our-
to stalk us. Have you noticed?
We're going to stalk you.
That's funny.
Yes.
That's
And that's in
funny.
late March. So we're looking
Late
forward to
March,
it, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are fully intending to go to that this year.
Awesome.
Intending. No, remember, we fully intended to go to the Escapers annual bash, too. So.
There's a little commitment for it, and I
Yes.
understand that because you just, as RVers,
But-
as an
But I
owner,
have
you
to
never
say
know when your
that
plans will change.
the Florida is a lot closer than Arizona, so
So
odds
the odds
are
are-
much better.
So we'll either hopefully have our own Class B by then, or we'll just rent something when we're kind of making plans to have the boat repositioned in time to rent something.
We
in time.
looked at a lot of the Class Bs at the Tampa show last month, and we saw you guys do it. I
You
tell
make
it
them look
was
so
fun.
big when you're touring them too.
That's okay.
Watch her
They all
tours.
have
so little.
They'll have great headroom when Julie's in there.
Do you know one of them? I couldn't reach the top of the fridge. Had
Oh,
a
that was
lock.
hilarious!
I
I
couldn't
was
reach it like
I
this.
was laughing on the couch because I'm like, how is she gonna ever live in this RV? She can't even open
I
the
could
fridge.
live in it. I could just never eat unless my husband made me food. I'm like, this is really good for a weight loss program. I can't reach the fridge.
Julie does
jumping up
make
and
Class
down.
Bs look big. She
Oh my
does.
gosh, they're like Class
But
A's
you know
with
what's
her
funny
videos.
is like because ours has a 40-foot Class A motorhome, single slide.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty big, but we love it. But being in, there's a lot of really nice design. They have to be so much more space efficient in the Bs. I really like the design. I can really see the appeal.
Well, it's a
I
different
can
type of
see.
travel, but I
Yeah.
absolutely see how people can live full time in a B if they are traveling, if they're not working. Like for you and I, who we all work so much.
We did something
we have so
smaller
much
than a
workspace.
Class B for 4 years.
Yes,
You
but
guys
we wouldn't
did.
do it
But yes.
again.
Yes.
Not for full time.
You
But
guys
yeah,
are-
working.
And the relationship was new. Remember, that
New
makes a
relationship
difference.
energy got us through
That's
that.
a factor.
All right, I got another question here. This thing
Is that a
jumps all
super host
around.
person? We can.
No, you cannot
cheers.
drink yet.
Sorry,
No
no.
one has given us.
Cut off.
You're not allowed to drink
cannot
unless you
drink
do
until
it.
someone gives her a tip. Get her tipsy.
This.
That's where tipsy
Oh.
comes from. I
That
imagine.
you know that reminds me of when we were in Nashville once. Amazing talent in Nashville, and there was a band that was playing the Devil. What is it? Devil Goes Down to Georgia. Is
Yeah.
that, and it was somebody wanted them to play this, and they said we won't do it unless we raise at least $100 in tips. And they went around the whole place, and they definitely made it. But then they tore it up, didn't they? It was
Yeah, and
amazing.
if you ever have the opportunity to travel through Nashville, that is phenomenal. There are 70 live performances per day in Nashville because there's so many bars with all
I
live
would have
bands.
expected more.
The talent pool
There's only
is
like
amazing.
a dozen here in Sanford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Sanford.
we're at the
That's
entertainment
amazing.
tonight, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's right.
It's
All right.
amazing.
We're not going to drink until.
Okay, we
Yeah.
have a question from Wanderlost RV.
Okay.
Advice: I long to live the full-time RV life again. My fiance is not on board with it. Any tips? Now, someone said get a new fiance. Probably not the
That's a bit
ideal
harsh.
Not the
solution.
ideal
That's a bit
solution.
harsh.
That's probably not the ideal solution. But
What would we say?
it really does. If you're hitting the road as a partnership, it really does take both of them being
It
on board
does.
with it.
They really do
Yes.
need to both be on board. And one of the things that I've seen other couples, because we see this a lot, we see there's one person that's much more excited about it than the other. And
That's common.
I think one of the ways you want to be able to sell that on the other person is find out what their interests are. So one couple that comes to mind was a couple, and his
Mike and
wife was
Lisa.
not interested. Mike and Lisa, yes. And Mike said to Lisa, she loved the idea of food and wine, eating out. And so he said, well, think of it as a 1-year food and wine tour
Of the country.
of the country. And so that got
And she
her
said yes.
to spin it into a different perspective on how to enjoy
So
the
she's
lifestyle.
focusing on the food and wine instead of the dump stations and.
Well, I
Right.
think one of
Yeah.
the challenges too is that when you think full-time RV life, a lot of people think, I have to sell my home, give up everything, and this is my life now.
And
traveling.
leave all my friends, leave my
Right.
family.
Right, and that's really important. Everyone has different value systems, and it doesn't have to be that black and white or that permanent. Maybe you rent your place out so you don't, so you can chunk it down and say, well, let's do it as a 6-month or a 12-month trial
Right.
run and
Def-
see.
Definitely
and
good.
don't-
Trial runs are great.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've actually met couples that have kind of come up with sort of compromise. We actually met a couple where the woman had crazy travel lust and wanted to full-time RV, and her husband wanted to be a homebody, and so he stayed home. She would travel 6 months of the year, and he would join her on occasional weekends, and then she would live at home the other 6 months. And so they both got their thing going that way.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
we also knew a couple, and I don't think that was the reason why, but he had work commitments in Canada, and she didn't want to be over there in the winter, and she was down in Arizona, and he would just fly down
Yes.
on weekends, and he commuted.
There are ways
Everything.
around it if
Yeah.
you don't want to travel full time together as a couple. But we've also seen a situation where there was a hesitant partner,
Yeah.
and they hit the road together, and the one who was enthusiastic about it actually loses the enthusiasm and wants to settle down, and the one who was initially having the hesitation
Flipped, yeah.
loved
hooked.
it so much they're hooked that they continue traveling after the other one settles down.
Yeah,
seen
we
that
have
happen
seen
too.
that several times. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, we've actually seen couples split where they kind of go the opposite directions where they originally intended.
There's no protecting how things. I mean, we're people. We all have our different interests. We have our different motivations. We have our
Yeah.
different wants and needs.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hesitation causes you to stop and really think through the logistical aspects of it instead of just the fantasy of it. And once
Which
you
makes
get
you prepared and more
more
successful.
exactly.
There's some merits to that
Communication.
for sure.
I mean, it all comes down to communication,
cut
talking
you
about
off.
it. And that's why, we've had a lot of people, we did a lot of radio interviews when we launched the book, and a lot of magazine interviews too. But one of the questions we kept getting over again is, why did you dedicate so much of the book, like a whole section, to the emotional journey? Like the whole is split up into 3 parts, and that's wise, because a lot of people underestimate that. They're focused on, how am I going to afford it? How am I going to work? How will I get connectivity? What RV should I buy? Where am I going to go? But very few people at the beginning say, how are we going to go adjusting living together in a small space? I mean, what if it's not what I thought it was going to be, or how are we going to deal with this?
And Google Maps and Garmin GPSs cannot calculate a route for an emotional journey.
Thank you.
You know,
They
That-
not yet.
Another
I mean,
another wonderfully insightful statement from
That was
Chris.
really good, Chris. Can
On
I
our
use
last,
that?
our
I'm
last,
going to borrow that.
go right ahead.
that was a
It's
really
going to be on our
great-
next book.
I'll tell you, one of the last times we had a chat with Chris and Cherie, he had the other insight of one of the most dangerous things to pack is an agenda or a schedule.
We
And,
stole
Schedule,
that. We
schedule.
stole that from
But
Sean.
yeah,
that was
Well,
still-
that's over and over. But yeah, that is a good one.
But it was another really
It's a good
insightful message to share. So.
Can I be sipping my wine yet?
No one's given us money. You cannot have wine yet.
Apparently, if you want to see
Fine.
Julie drinking red wine, and believe me, it gets more entertaining the more it goes on.
All right. So we have a question from Roger Roy.
Sure.
RV Love, what do you think about the yacht? We are aboard Why Not right now. Is a boat in your
We're even
future?
sporting
Is it a yacht?
So yes, this is a yacht. So
Oh,
Mark
see,
is
I-
actually
how much do I
wearing
know
our
about
I'm
that?
cruise
actually
shirt.
modeling the cruise
Yeah,
shirt.
sure.
Yes.
It's a nice shirt, I have to say.
Careful! Don't knock over the wine. That's a
won't.
party foul.
He's got his why not shirt on.
These
Why
were
not?
offered back in over the summer. We offered those.
Yeah, it says just because why not is more fun than why.
So he is apparently
the
crew
boat.
now, so we can
I'm
put him to
crew.
work.
It's lots
That's
of
right.
space. It's really nice. And
Yeah,
is a
this
great
living room
area.
is. We love our living room.
Yeah.
This yacht is actually amazing because it's so spacious. It's so big with all the multiple layers and different living
Levels, yeah.
environments. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice, and you guys have done quite a few really nice upgrades to it as well.
You belong
Lots.
here.
This stay in Sanford. There's a huge amount of upgrades.
Our solar panels just got delivered today.
Yay! Finally, solar.
We got here after they all had
They
to go.
they intentionally arrived late.
Yeah, we're like, hey, we need to haul all these panels down a long dock, and they're like, oh, we're gonna be running late.
All right. So is a yacht in your future?
In ours? Hell
They're,
no.
they're probably going to spend time on our yacht. Does that count?
Right. See,
We've
that's,
always
I think that's
said-
our future is just spending more time on friends' yachts.
I love being.
We got $4.99. We
Oh.
can drink.
Cheers.
Who's that from?
Who are we cheering?
So this is from Bob and Dennis, who were just here in
Bob and
Sanford with us a
Dennis.
couple weekends
Cheers,
ago.
Bob and
We had
Ah!
more than a glass of wine, and they have a question for us, and we have another one from. Oh yes.
Come on.
All right. So Bob has a question for us. Bob and Dennis, Would you change anything about your choice for towing equipment for the Cherokee now that you've had some time with it, or would you make the same
Ooh, a
choice?
very particular
That's
question.
obviously our question, not yours.
Yes, we don't now have a Cherokee, so we'll pass to you guys.
I would absolutely make the same choice. There's
awesome. I love
multiple
it.
layered reasons why we made the choices that we did, and we are beyond excited about the choices we've made. So,
And there's a 2-part blog and video series for the detail of it on our website and YouTube channel.
Give
but
the nickel turn.
it's a Roadmaster. Yeah, we
Yeah,
got a
so-
Roadmaster, Nighthawk, tow bar,
Yeah, we
and
have
the
a
Invisibrake system.
yeah,
Well,
Roadmaster Nighthawk
we have
tow
drinks
bar.
to catch up on
Oh
here,
goodness.
too.
Oh,
Okay.
Roadmaster Nighthawk
People wanna
tow
see us
bar
finish this bottle
and
of red.
the Invisibrake braking system, and it's been fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it.
And quite an upgrade from towing with a dolly.
Yes, quite an upgrade from towing with a dolly for previous. Some people joked about that. I mean, in fact, my brother made fun of me when we were first seeing the road. He's like, "Yeah, we'll see how long that mini lasts," thinking I'd go maybe a few weeks or.
Well, the
months
other
with
brother
it.
said, we'll see how long your RVing life lasts.
Wow.
So they didn't have huge
didn't
hopes
have
for
a
our
lot of
Naysayers. That's
They were
something that
naysayers.
we run across.
Well, they love our book. So.
Okay.
All right, so Gone RVing sent us a $2 tip.
Oh, Mike and Dee. Mike and Dee are actually in chapter 8 of the book.
Thank you very much for
And
sharing this sip.
One of the
Thank you,
reasons,
Mike and Dee.
if you don't mind me sharing the reason why, I mean, we were very selective about who we invited to contribute their story to the book and to really provide a real great cross-section of all kinds of RVers. And Dee and Michael are actually originally South African but Canadian, so they they spent part of the year in Canada and part of the year in the US to escape the cold winters. They're snowbirds. And so just their retired age, they're in their 70s, and just what they have to deal with to cross the border and to spend time in the country half the
They've
year.
been full time for a long time.
A long time, made multiple RVs, and yeah, they were.
So we just
awesome.
caught up with them a few weeks ago. Love hanging out with Mike and Dee. It's great.
Yeah.
And thank you again.
All right, so we have another drink from
Hey.
Mandy Wardle.
These are going to be
Mandy-
very entertaining
Mandy
videos.
Mandy.
Hey,
think
Mandy.
Wardle. She says.
Oh, Mandy Wardle.
She
We know
says,
Mandy
cheers
Wardle.
to you all, and cheers to you.
Thank
Cheers
you,
to
Mandy
Mandy.
Waddle.
No bad sex.
We're very good with the eye contact over here.
We're being very diligent about that.
All right,
Thank you.
let me see if I can find some other questions in here.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
how many? I'm curious how many of you actually watched Cherie Chris's video, the Ramblings video, where we actually because that
It's
was
hilarious. Watch it.
Okay,
Well,
so
it's- we
the
love that.
big pending question, if you watch the video, is in
So
that
embarrassed.
interview 4 years ago. We did not know this until they came to visit a couple months
Yeah.
ago here. Julie actually ironed her pants
these
for
little
this
pants.
interview.
You have
And
to
I
watch
was
the
like,
video.
behind a table, you don't even see the pants.
Okay.
And we're boondocking in the desert.
Well, because it was so exciting
I
to be
thought-
with these big celebrities, Technomadia, and be on their film with Ramblings, the videos I'd seen so many times. So.
we
Because
were a
everyone in
little,
those
we were a
videos
little
had iron pants.
starstruck. Well, we were a little starstruck. And I mean, we'd been on the road for 8 months and took an iron and had never used it. But you always think you need an iron, right? And then we're in the desert boondocking, and I make Mark fire up the generator so I can heat up the iron to iron the pants to wear in the interview under a table that you don't even see.
You do realize now that when you're in the desert boondocking, you don't even need pants. I mean, you see plenty of people walking around without them. You don't need pants at all. It's like
Well, when you have visitors, like people come knock on your door randomly
Yeah.
that you don't expect.
In the
But,
honor of the occasion, Julie did wear those same
Julie
And
is wearing the same
wearing the
pants
same
she
pants.
was wearing
I don't know
4
if you
months
can-
ago. And the big question
stand
is,
up and dance. Here we go.
Sorry, no, I'm wearing my little linen pants,
she
And,
did not iron them.
Not iron.
which is a compliment because it means that I now am no longer starstruck by you, but I feel like we're friends and I can wear creased pants.
Whereas I brush my hair. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
You've even got your hair out tonight.
I
Chris. You
do.
usually
All
have it
right,
pulled back.
RV Frida just sent us a $15.
Oh, that's like a big sip.
Oh my
We could like
goodness.
says-
buy a whole bottle of wine
And,
with that.
and that's
Frida.
exactly what she suggests is we open a new bottle of wine. I think we should finish the first one.
It is finished.
Thank you, Frida.
Frida,
Frida
wow.
is amazing. And if you don't already follow RV Frida, RV Freeda on YouTube, she is wonderful, very inspiring. In fact, her air conditioner just broke down here in Florida. And she couldn't get anyone to repair it because everyone's booked up for a couple of months, so she fixed it herself.
Dang.
She's
Awesome.
badass.
Good on
That
you,
is
Frida.
badass. And Mel and Linda are here in the chat room. And again,
Are these
they
your
sent us this bottle of wine. This is not just one they sent us money to go buy a bottle of wine. They actually shipped us wine from this Tobin James Winery community, which is a Harvest Hosts member.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, cool.
so
Dog.
they
I
support-
would have to highly recommend go to Tobin
It is
James because this is,
fantastic. We're
It's a
drinking the
Zinfandel.
Zinfandel this evening.
this is the first of the bottles we've opened. We've been saving them for a
We've been
special occasion.
saving them. I've been buying
Yeah.
cheap wine for regular nights.
Really? She's normally like, you're the Boda Box gal.
No, we don't do Boda Box often.
Cherie's
You
not,
used
Cherie's
to.
not allowed to have photo boxes anymore.
This is
because
this
it's too
is
hard to
when you
tell
get
when you've
visitors, you
had-
get the bottle.
It's too hard to tell.
Well,
Yeah.
and Julie had that at one point too. She's like, "Oh, if I get
It's
a
more
box wine,
economical.
I can just have one glass." Well, the
No.
problem is you just have
You
drink
frequent
more.
glasses.
We have to tip to toast that.
We totally should.
What
do
are we
that.
doing?
Didn't they send? Okay.
No,
well,
no,
well,
no
we
more
still
money
have-
has
fine.
been sent. We
Oh,
cannot
but-
drink it. Do not
well,
drink.
No, this is the bottle that they sent.
Yeah.
This- totally
Okay.
To them.
Oh,
To
okay.
them. I'm
You
not-
guys are like rationalizing.
We're
things.
rationalizing it.
Mm.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me find some more questions in here.
Chat room active.
And Joe finally joined us. He had to join us after taking a long
Computer Joe?
shower. Yes, Joe, the computer guy.
I hope
He's
you
our
enjoyed your
moderator.
shower, Joe.
Yes.
Thank you
Love-
for picking
love
up my
meeting
package
Joe.
at TTO this week.
And
I
I'm-
seriously appreciate
How
it.
cool! Another serendipity. We met these guys so serendipitously out in the desert long
No,
ago.
it wasn't serious. They were stalking us.
Oh
Remember?
right, but
Yes, we were
I'm
stalking
kidding.
them.
I'm
we actually
kidding.
just met Joe here right around just before Christmas because we were in the same campground, and not only in the same campground, but our coaches basically backed up the tails
It's
to each other.
perpendicular.
You're right next to each
You
other.
do realize Joe makes a habit of putting a 20 when he's checking in at the campgrounds to
To
say,
be
"Put
part
me next to the famous
YouTube."
people."
Oh, that's funny.
It's
Joe-
it's a simple tip.
Joe has been our moderator on these chats for so long. He's a personal friend. He's actually he was following us for so much and just helping out spontaneously. We hired him, and he helps out with our mobile internet
We
resource
tried to
center
hire
too.
him. No, he's no.
He's
We
fantastic.
made him sign an exclusive contract, right?
Is that what it was?
He's our
No,
only.
he's busy being retired and enjoying life. Cheers to Joe.
Cheers
Okay, we will
to
cheer
Joe.
to Joe.
Joe-
Joe,
Joe
Joe the
deserves
computer
it.
guy.
Cheers to
Joe is amazing and awesome,
He
and,
is.
and Joe will be aboard helping us install the solar next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Next week he's installing this whole thing.
Okay, we have to drink again because someone just sent us $10.
Seriously? Wow. Somebody just wants to see a whole episode of
Oh,
Technomadia
this
and
is
I
the-
love getting smashed.
It's
It's working.
It's the Dinkler, so.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I didn't
goodness.
finish my story earlier. So Fred and Christelle, Fred Tinkler is the hot air balloon pilot that we all have crewed with, right? You crewed
Yeah,
with
we've been-
Fred.
We
in his
brought him
plane.
into the Escapers.
You
and
brought
then
him
we-
into the Escapers
Yes,
group, so
yes.
and then we flew and crewed with him a few
Multiple
times now.
times.
Oh, you've been at
We've
multiple? We've only
flown-
done it once.
Well, I've been up twice. You've been up once.
We've crewed. At
Crewed
probably
multiple
8
times.
times. Yeah.
Honestly,
Oh,
I
awesome.
think crewing for the balloon is just as much fun, if not more sometimes, than just flying. Flying is amazing,
Yeah.
but crewing is really fun.
If anybody hasn't had a chance to go to the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, if you do it, go and volunteer for crew.
It's
Yeah.
And
amazing.
it is an incredible experience.
You have to
And
get
if
up
you're
early.
lucky, yeah, you have to get up early or stay up
Worth-
really late.
I'm not a morning person, but it's worth it.
Yes, it
Okay.
is. It is worth it.
So have we cheered for
We need to
Christelle
cheers,
and
Christelle.
Fred?
Christelle and Fred,
Okay.
good to see you guys.
Amazing
Oh,
friends
sorry.
for all of us.
Okay.
And we actually have stayed at their, before they hit the road, we stayed at their house in San Antonio. Or
Oh, you
between-
did?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
But now they're
They're
full-time
full-time in a
RVers.
fifth
Yeah,
wheel
they're
now.
full-timers.
And they've got quite
tow
the
their
setup to
balloon.
full time with, in that they
Yeah.
have 2 trucks and 2 trailers, right? Because they have the F-150 towing a cargo trailer for the balloon, and they have the F-350
that is so
towing
cool.
the fifth wheel, the Montana.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
All decked
so,
up with solar.
so Christelle does have a question for us.
all right.
Okay.
Which is, how is the boating community versus the RVing community?
You guys want to answer this one?
I think
No,
I-
well, we were walking out to
got a
get
feeling
some
that's what
dinner,
you-
and there was a guy walked by. He was really friendly. That's all I know.
That kind of
Sorry.
happens in RVing too. So it is very similar. I mean, people who have chosen a life of travel tend to be cool and have awesome stories and things to share.
True. Well,
And that's across the
Christelle
board.
did a lot of sailing before ballooning. You know, in her She's been
Yeah.
very involved in the boating community.
So there are several interesting differences in the boating community. People either tend to be more localized, or if they're traveling, they're on the same rough path. Because if you're on the East Coast, you're going north or you're going south, and there's a lot of overlap.
There's not many ways to go.
And whereas RVers tend to be going zing, 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 zing,
Yeah.
zing, and so your overlaps
point.
are.
It's been
It's
4 years
strange.
since we've been
Yes.
able to see these guys.
Mhm.
We've kept in touch online and become friends.
We've not seen each other in person for 4 years.
Well, except for that December thing, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Before
it,
that,
it's
it
been
was
4
4 years.
So we met you in Arizona 4
We
years
never
ago.
saw you in person before that.
No.
No, we just have all these
amazing about
online
technology.
Skype
I
calls
feel,
and
I
stuff.
feel
Yeah.
like it
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
feel like that.
We have FaceTime.
We've
It
done
happens.
FaceTime check-ins. We've
We have.
communicated a lot. We've
Yeah.
we've
We've joined some live calls. Yeah.
we've cried with each other as we've hit
Yeah.
obstacles. You know, we've
Yeah.
shared deeply. We've become really good
Yeah.
friends. But because RVing takes you all over this great country of ours. It's hard to cross paths again. And so this winter we've been able to
Quite
see
a few
each other
times.
more.
Yeah. So far.
No, that's an interesting point though. That because of boating, because there's fewer places where you're going to be docking in, and there's because you don't have as much. So there's so you have a little bit more.
But you have another obstacle with boating as far as community goes, and that's. Well, we're coastal cruisers, and we're going to be staying mostly along the intercoastal waterway and the side trips off of that. A lot of cruisers are going around the world. They're passage making. So
Or going out to the islands and stuff, yeah.
Sure.
So, like our friends Nikki and Jason of Gone with the Winds, they're doing passage making and doing a world circumnavigation.
Right, so they're down in the South Pacific and are not going to be back in the United States for years and years and years. And unless we fly out and catch up with them, it will be.
We should.
Probably will at some point.
We should.
But and they might fly back to the States to get beans because there's no beans in the South Pacific, particularly black beans. I mean, there's a crisis down there. Yeah, there should be a telethon to send beans to the South Pacific, I think.
No, they have to pay import taxes, and it would cost them more than the cost of beans.
So change the
We had this
laws
conversation
and
with
send a freighter with beans because they have no good Tex-Mex in South Pacific. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
These are the things people don't think about, are they?
Think of the children.
You know.
There's no Tex-Mex.
Think of the black beans. So we'll go to a marina. Look, we were up in Ortega Landing, which is in Jacksonville. That's where we stayed in August and September. And our neighbors were on this beautiful catamaran sailing vessel, very similar to Nikki and Jason's.
Beautiful boat.
They have circumnavigated the world twice, and they're just back in the U.S. to kind of be in between their next.
Well,
they're actually
they're
buying
going to sell
an
their
RV
boat
next.
and get an RV.
Well, we see that a lot. People going from
Right.
boat to RV.
And that's been surprising for us to find out.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Is how common it is for RVers and cruisers to switch modalities and to split the year between
Yeah,
the two.
it's a lot more unusual to go from RV to boat. It's the more common
I
path
don't
to
see
go
us
boat to
doing
RV.
that. We like coming and visiting and staying on other people's boats, but I don't see us ever being a boat.
But the reason why is because you're always at home. You're traveling in your home. I think that's the commonality of
And he's a mountain man.
Totally commonality.
There's not many mountains on the water.
No, he's Colorado. He's just not a water person.
I guess
You can
seasick
go up
too.
the Tennessee River to Chattanooga. You got mountains right there off the
Yeah,
side
you
of
can
the
go down
side
to
of
the
road.
Virgin Islands. There's
Mark
great
throws up when he
mountains
goes snorkeling.
Yeah, as long as I have smooth water.
Oh, that's
yes.
good. That chums for the fish. They'll come right to you then.
They do.
That is one GoPro video that didn't make it to the YouTube channel.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry for the overshare.
Sorry.
So-
That's what happens when you send us money to drink wine, is that we tell stories that we probably
All
shouldn't
right,
be telling on
so
YouTube.
let's go find another question to answer here.
Okay.
These are so hard to find.
So what happens when you get the super questions? Do they go a different
So,
colour?
so yeah, so these
This is my first time doing it.
so the
our
ones
first time
with
doing it
people
live.
who have actually done a super chat, their questions are highlighted in
a
colors,
colour.
so it's easier for me to find them. Whereas
So
everything
that's
else,
what you need to do.
Yeah, I think YouTube intentionally keeps this shrinking the font on regular chat just to make
it more and more difficult.
'cause-
Oh, come on.
For
Send a
my
couple of bucks
aging
so we can
eyes.
all have another drink. I'm getting
My
thirsty.
aging eyes.
So Curtis says that he has a camping cabin reserved in our name for our village if we don't have an RV. So
okay,
thank you,
deal.
Curtis.
Thank you. Okay.
We
Oh,
will
at
be
the
there.
village rally up at
Yes.
Live Oaks.
Okay, so then
Awesome.
odds are almost certain we will be there.
Just remember, we said we're certainly going to be at the Escapers Annual Bash.
Well,
Keep things in
and you
mind.
did tell us when we
But
caught
odds are
up
still
before
high, though.
Christmas that you don't make plans anymore.
We try to reduce, but our village and Escapers are both
And Curtis.
and Travis and Mel are all near and dear to our hearts. We were
Right.
intimately involved with launching both of them. They are very important to us.
Yeah.
So it still breaks my heart that we weren't able to go out to Escapers.
Yeah.
But
No, you guys have been instrumental in launching both of those platforms, so that's been huge. So
okay. So Joe would like to know if everyone was behaving in his absence.
Huh?
We will answer that when you send some money for it.
No, Joe,
I'm kidding,
Joe.
Joe.
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
kidding.
Okay.
Hey,
gotta find
it's
some
okay for me
questions
to
here.
say that.
we're behaving in his absence.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, we had a
That's all
lovely
right, Joe.
we had Joe over for Christmas Eve. That was really
We
fun.
did.
So,
And Michael and Louise, who are another.
and Michael Louise as well. We saw Charles and Abby on here earlier too. I hope
Charles
you
and
guys
Abby,
are doing
they still on
great,
the
too.
call?
They're still in Wachula.
Peter
I
and
guess.
John still hanging around?
Good chance.
Yes,
You got
Peter and
too
John, I
many
think we're
people.
here still. It's so
We
hard
can't-
to
we
find
can't really see
questions in
who's there.
here. Oh my gosh.
I'm glad you're driving it, not me. I'm going to have a drink anyway. So.
Okay. Okay.
Fear not.
We drink a bottle of Prosecco and a bottle of red.
We don't
And
need-
you realize she's really tiny. Adds up
I've only got
fast.
12 minutes to go, so.
You might go over. it's just awesome being able to hang out
Okay.
with these guys. It's just hard to believe it's been 4 years since. I mean, December, we hung out with you guys for a good long day.
And we came
just
to your book thing, your book party.
Right, we had that.
Oh, so we
we
actually
met-
had 2
yes,
catch
we
ups.
met
This is
the-
our
we met
third
twice.
We've
time.
had 3. We've gone 4 years since an in-person meeting.
And we've had 4 in the last 2 months.
Because we saw you
We'll
in
have
Tampa Art
4.
Show,
We'll have
yeah.
another one next week, possibly.
And
Yeah,
hopefully we'll come out and
Possibly.
see.
Wait, you're not going to come?
That'll be 5.
It's-
Oh,
And then
oh,
others will
so
be 6.
do we want to announce
We
the
should.
meetup?
Yeah,
Sure.
it's been out.
So next Friday,
I don't know. Do you want to wait till you get?
February 22nd, if you are in Central Florida, we are going to be hosting a joint meetup
Yeah.
for the 4 of us here in
Yeah.
Sanford. So if you are available and would like to come join us, keep an eye out on social media. We'll get the details announced pretty soon. We're still waiting for confirmation on some of the reservations, but
Friday the 22nd.
second,
In Sanford, Florida.
yes,
Yeah, which is about an hour from
Orlando.
Orlando area.
It's the north suburb of Orlando, basically.
and it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's fun. There
It's really
may
cute, yeah.
be
Yodeling.
cider and yodeling.
And an
There
RV
may be.
at the where we're
There may
hosting
be
it.
cider and
Maybe.
yodeling. Yes.
And food.
Okay.
And food.
So Nicole has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Between the 35-foot bus, which
You have.
Rocky was how long?
35,
36.
36, yeah.
And ours is 35, so we
Yeah,
You
same
were
size.
35
from
too,
that.
yeah.
And the 40-foot CC.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
feel there's much difference in national and state park access or RV park access in general? So has the increased size made a difference in places?
Does size
in the state?
matter?
Size does matter, but not in the size of the RV in that respect. I mean, we have not seen a significant reduction in the accessibility to any campgrounds so far. And we do like the extra livability of our 40-foot, even though we went from a quad slide to a single slide RV. That new one actually feels larger, partially because of the lighter colors, I imagine. But as far as accessibility, we have not had an issue because most of the
We
campgrounds
don't
we stay
spend
at.
a lot of times in truth, we don't spend a lot of times in national and state parks.
No, but
think
the
that's a part of it.
statistically though, for those who are not familiar, from what I remember in the statistics, sorry, I had a glass of wine here, is that 70% of national parks, you can access 70% of national parks up to 40 feet in length, and after 40 feet in length, the percentage drops to 17%. Can accommodate RVs greater than 40%. So
Right.
greater than 40 feet in length. So if you go, to like a 42, you might have some more issues. But at 40 feet, you still have
It's a bit of a
access to a
sweet
good
spot, I
chunk.
think.
But what we find is that getting reservations in national parks, in period, is a bigger issue than having the difference between a 36 and a 40-foot length. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's tougher to get reservations in those, but
Yeah.
but
we
also
generally
that's why
just
we have
park right
a
outside.
towed vehicle.
If,
I mean,
if RVing bloggers would quit writing books about how awesome the RV lifestyle is, it might be a
Sorry
lot
about that.
easier.
Sorry about that.
Oh, and
it
I
was
guess
already
we
a
should-
problem before the book came
And I
out.
guess we shouldn't do a TV show either, huh?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing
Right.
TV shows. Yeah, I
Well,
think
no,
your TV show I think is going to have broader reach
no,
than our
but
book.
what if we had like zombies and death and destruction in our TV
Oh, then
show?
as long as you're an RVer, you'll be okay.
Oh God, no. Okay, no. We need to turn people off from RVing. So we got to talk to Anthony about having like RVs blow up in every episode or something, or black tank
Zombie
accidents.
attacks,
Yeah.
midge attacks.
Black tank
Midget
accidents.
tanks,
It's,
yeah.
Yes.
But
Need
yeah, I
something
think
to,
we stayed at Crater Lake National Park, and those sites were enormous. It was like 65
you could
feet.
have a
It was
45-foot
huge.
coach in there.
We've stayed, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon,
Grand Canyon
the
can
Trail
handle
Village.
big coaches.
Yeah, so it's not been a problem, but I think for us, the biggest limiting factor on staying in national parks, remembering that we're still working age RVers, we're not retired. If we were, we'd probably spend more time in national parks. But connectivity is our thing, and connectivity is not as prevalent inside national parks, and that's
true.
more of our limiting factor than the size of our rig. So because our travel and the fact that we're able to still travel at this age while we're still working is such a privilege that we're very grateful for, and we realize it's not afforded to everybody, and so we have to prioritize connectivity. We have to prioritize our work to be able to do that. And so that's but staying outside of an RV park and then driving in to visit Yosemite in our tow vehicle instead, it's really not that much of a sacrifice, shall we say.
All right, we have some drinking to do.
oh,
Ooh,
All right, so Laura just sent a $5 contribution
hey, Laura.
for
to
a drink,
Laura.
and then
Thank
we
you.
have a mission with her. So
Oh,
I will
okay.
tell you what our mission is.
Oh, your mission, should you choose to accept it.
First is the drink. I think we need the drink first before
Right.
we field her question.
Well, it sounds like a big question.
She would like to know an individual response from each of us.
Oh.
What is your favorite part about being a nomad?
Okay.
Chris, you've been the longest nomad of all of us.
Yes, you go first.
For me, it's the all of the above. I want to taste it all. I want to go everywhere. I want to see everything, and I like being able to be in the moment and be like, oh, I want to go over that direction. I want to go this direction. Something new, something interesting, and the idea of being in one place is just never really called my name. So I just like
in one place for 4 months. So it has called your name for 4 months.
but that 4 months
It's
is
not
great.
long for most people, though.
And because I'm a really strong Myers-Briggs P type. I like the possibilities of things that you can do. More
what is your
possibilities.
Myers-Briggs type?
XNTP.
INTP?
X. I'm an EI swing.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm right on the fence.
INFJ.
Yes.
Okay.
You?
I'm an
You cut Chris
ENFP.
off. You cut
Sorry,
Chris
Chris.
off.
I'm XNTP.
But we already
yeah.
established earlier that Chris and I are more similar and you two are more similar. It's opposites attract. We're pretty sure he's an ISTJ.
Those J people.
If that means something for you.
Okay. Sorry, Chris. Sorry, you off.
Divergent.
But, yeah.
Yes.
Let Chris
So-
finish.
So I just like the possibilities of being a nomad and just having so much potential ahead. Yeah, not knowing what's coming next.
All
You're
right, I guess
next,
I'm
you're
the
the
next.
longest, next longest.
Yeah, so-
All right, what do I like most about being a nomad? I've always identified as a variety of file. I don't like getting too set into routines, even though I do have a J type personality. I'm a very strong J.
She's a lot less strong of a J than when I met
He
her.
peed on me.
Yes.
Okay, wait, we're getting too personal there.
Being a nomad, your J has to shift. Actually,
It does, and that's
And in the Myers-Briggs, P is about possibilities and J is
about
judgment.
schedules and
Right.
prejudging things. But
Right.
the way it plays in with an INFP, with the NF, it actually is more about the overall picture of the plan than it is the specific points along the way.
That's the detail stuff.
So
It's getting very
so what I've
personality
learned
profile
about
driven
being
now.
a nomad is being able to embrace that aspect of my personality type, is being able to see the overall picture of where I'm going and what my mission is and what things are, but not being as stressed about the details. Whereas in our world, which favors the ESTJ, is pretty much the default personality pattern. Our society wants us to have those plans and those schedules and everything else, and so
Right.
that gets impressioned
Yeah.
upon all of us.
Yeah,
Well, I've always kind of lived outside of those,
yeah,
and being a nomad has helped me get even further away
yeah.
from those expectations that schedules and preconceptions are what matters, and being able to more see that the overall mission, as long as that's on track, I can adjust everything around it. So.
Nice.
After all that prosecco and wine, it was very profound, Cherie. I have to say, it was.
Okay, which one of you is going? Because you guys
Probably
are
me.
equal.
I
nomad
do.
kind of.
As an Australian, we do a lot more travel because it's so far from
Yeah,
everywhere.
walk about there.
Well, I've never been to the Outback, but one day. Never have. Never have. I know, and I survived all of those snakes and spiders and sharks and crocodiles. Like, can you believe it? I survived.
Everyone thinks they're so prevalent
It's
there.
really not a problem.
They're everywhere.
Anyway, I would say, for me, a huge driver for me in my life is personal growth. And so, in my previous life, I used to, promote a lot of authors and spiritual teachers and transformational teachers in my previous business. And so that's always been a huge driver for me. So I think being nomadic and always being in different places or having the flexibility to go to different places and put yourself in unfamiliar situations is about growth and learning to trust yourself a lot more. Not having to trust them. Well, I have to know exactly where I'm going and what. That's very much a controlled environment. And I think when you get out of that need, I think becoming a nomad, if you are a control freak, you will learn to
not be.
not be because you
Definitely.
have to. I mean, as an RVer and obviously I imagine as a cruiser, I mean, you
Even
cannot
more as a
plan for
cruiser.
everything, even
Yeah.
more as a cruiser. Certainly as an RVer, you just you can't plan for everything.
have to learn to
and
go with the flow.
You do, and so I think just societally in the Western society we have a tendency to want to control things. I think that's what is, even if you're not naturally born like that, that is very much a societal thing. And so I like that it's not about that. I like that I just, through each experience that I have, I grow and I learn more about myself and the world and the people in it. And one thing about traveling as an RVer is meeting people and experiencing I mean, there are literally microcultures in this country everywhere you go, and it's not what you see in the news. It is not what you see in the media. And these places that we've been maybe a little bit more nervous to go to based on what is portrayed in the media, a bit like Australia. It's not as scary. It's not what is portrayed, and that's what I like.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
great.
So our village is
Marc,
out
let me
there
answer it.
Let me have it.
making band names. I think Go with the Flow will be his next band name.
Okay.
Go with the
Band
flow.
name, yeah.
So what
Good
is
band
your
name.
favorite thing about being a nomad, Mark?
Well, I do love the variety, and I do love all the experiences that enrich your life and enrich your relationship with your other traveling partners. But I think to Julie's growth comment is that one of the great things about being nomadic is that you are always in someplace new, and every time you show up in a new place, you have the opportunity to show up as your true authentic self or recreating yourself in that you can, when you live in a traditional society, a traditional lifestyle, everyone has preconceived notions of who you are from based on your history or from where you live. But when you travel
Or what you drive,
and
or
you're
what
nomadic,
you do.
you have the ability to reinvent yourself or always show up as your true and authentic reinvented self everywhere you go.
Not
and I think
everyone's
that's a real
expectation.
gift to have that at
Nice.
every opportunity.
All right. So for $5, Laura got a lot of value.
Wow,
a
imagine
lot
what
of
you'd get for
insight.
10.
Yeah.
All right. So our next drinking toast, Mel, who actually
I'm glad this is only a
provided this
1 hour
bottle,
call.
Cheers
is
to
now
Mel.
paying just to see how Super Chat works. He just sent $5 for us all drink his wine.
Thank you,
Right.
Mel.
Cheers.
We have
Thank you, Mel.
amazing fans and supporters. Thank
We
you, Mel and
do.
Linda.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mel.
And
Whew,
Mel
I'm
and
glad it's
Linda-
only a 1 hour call. That's all I got to say about that.
so
No, there's
Mel,
no end time.
there's no end time. We're going on all night. We
Yeah.
have 173 people with us.
173. So yeah, like
It was like 190 at one point. Yeah.
All right,
it's
so we
always
are-
fun to stay till
175
dawn.
now.
We are at an hour, so
Okay.
we have to decide if we want to wrap this up or continue to
Oh,
find
let's-
out.
If
Game
there's
on,
if
game
there's still a
on.
few more questions, let's wrap them up.
Game
All right.
on. I'm for it.
Game on. Let's wrap it up. We got a debate
boy.
here.
All right, so Doug has a question.
Okay.
We're ready to begin a full-time in the next several months, but we want to come home to Florida for the winter months.
Yep.
How do you balance between not having plans, which we all just kind of
Yeah.
impressed upon, and the parks down there being full? And that is a
Yeah,
problem in
that
winter.
is a really good
Well, and
question.
especially when you say coming back home, being home as in Florida, do you plan on having a permanent residence still, or do you plan
A
on
permanent home
actually
base.
coming back with your RV? And if you plan on coming back to Florida every year as your home base, would it then behoove you to actually purchase a
Yacht
site
or something.
so that you would have your absolute certainty on having your site available to you every winter? If that's what you want to do, is calling home every winter in Florida, I would recommend having an actual site to come back to.
And when you're not
One,
there, you
because
can rent it out.
You'd have the site, but also you'd have a much greater opportunity to build community in
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, whether you own a site or you have just a standing reservation, which a lot of people do, and we've
Yep.
stayed
They,
in
they,
RV
they
parks
don't
where
leave Florida without making the reservation. for the
there's a
season.
lot of people who come back to the exact same site every winter in Florida. There's a lot of parks where it is like half the park is repeat people every year, and you kind of
Yeah,
step
but
into that.
Chris and I, now, we haven't RV'd in Florida in 2 years, so a lot has changed in the RVing community. It's gotten a lot harder.
Yeah, hover RVs and yeah.
But what we did the 2 winters ago when we were actually boat hunting is we just relied on snagging last minute cancellations because all of these RVers are making these reservations a year out.
Yeah.
And if you have the right mindset with RVing, you're canceling your plans and you're canceling those reservations.
Yeah.
So we actually use there's a lot of services out there now where you can track last minute cancellations in the state
Yeah.
park systems
Yeah.
and the Army Corps of Engineer parks.
Right.
So we would just monitor those, put in watches on the places we wanted to be, and we would pick up 9-day reservations here,
3
2
days
weeks
here,
here,
yeah.
and fill out. And we got to explore a lot of amazing places. And if you're
You've
willing
got to
to
be flexible.
trust
Yeah.
and be flexible in the serendipity and,
And-
trust that things are going to work
And,
out,
and,
Yeah.
and,
that's
and
a possibility
occasionally,
too.
particularly because weekends are often the ones most booked up by locals, is you might have to do a Friday night or a Saturday night at a Walmart lot just because
Or a
there's
casino.
Or Harvest
or a
Host
casino or something.
Or other
But-
boondocking
Boondocking.
location.
Yeah.
Just have a rig set up to be able to handle at least an
But
overnight.
as long as you're not focused on the weekends, you can often really park hop around Florida even in prime season just by being last minute.
And one thing that we found too, because we primarily stay in campgrounds probably at least 75% of the time. We have a Thousand Trails camping network, and there's quite a few campgrounds down here in Florida. And we're staying in the entire winter in Florida for pretty much nothing.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much
I mean,
no nightly fee.
But we had planned a lot of that, not all of it, quite a few months in advance. But then there still has to be some flexibility. Like one campground got flooded when they had some storms before Christmas, so we had to scramble, and we managed to find a 2-week reservation somewhere else in the system. So you have to be flexible. I think that's the whole thing. Is you just what we do, Doug, I think it was, make plans, and we put reservations in place, knowing that we'll probably massage and move them around, cut this one a little bit shorter, extend it a little bit. So, but we like to have some building blocks in place as a guide.
And don't be afraid to make cancellations. I mean, even if it's like a $10 or $20 cancellation fee, it's a big deal.
Know what the cancellation fees are, because some RV parks, especially peak season, get kind of
Awful.
They get
awful
sticky.
with it.
Yeah.
Right.
We tend to trust that something will be available and things will work out, and that has proved true for 13 years.
Yep. On the other hand, we do know people who literally plan out to the day,
We
18
do,
months in
too.
advance.
Yes.
So,
And
Yeah, we've met 'em. Yeah.
that would make
Denny
it be
and
crazy.
Veronica,
Yes.
Joe.
Well, Joe too. Jenny and Veronica work full-time jobs, so I can understand that
Yeah.
they move on weekends and they work
Oh,
during
yes,
the week. They work hard,
absolutely.
play hard. But that's RV Outlaws if you follow those guys on Instagram. But yeah, I mean that it's just being flexible. But one thing we have found is that if we've had a few people say, "Oh, I've just bought a new RV and want to take it out on a shakeout trip on the weekend. I can't get in anywhere in Florida; it's completely booked out." A lot of the county parks are little hidden gems that you may
So
not
many
think
hidden
about.
gems.
Little county parks. Sometimes you can't reserve in advance; you just show up. But they're little hidden gems that
Like
if you
there's one right here in Sanford, by the way, if someone wants to come visit us.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's a great park in Sanford.
We've had
and
lots
people
of
don't
friends
think about
stay there.
those a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
It's $15 a night with water and electric.
In
and it's
Florida, $15 a night.
Sanford. It's
Yeah,
just
right here in
down the road
Sanford.
here.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
We've
a
had lots
hidden
of
gem
friends stay
because
there,
nobody
yeah.
finds it until now, I guess.
There you
So,
go. Now it's
Yeah.
going to be
It's
all over the interwebs, and it's
Yeah,
no
it's
longer
tough
be able
to
to get
find
in.
I'm not going
reservations.
to tell you the name of the park, but
You'll find
You'd have to, you know,
yeah.
Make 'em
Well,
work a little bit
okay,
for it.
so we have a problem.
what's up?
We have more people who have given us very kind donations, and thank
Oh.
you so
Yeah.
much. But we're running out of wine.
There's a whole cabinet up there of more.
I don't know how long this call can go for. I don't want it to get too boring.
Oh, we can.
Um,
What do you think?
well,
we got one from. We
What do
got
we got?
Colleen.
Colleen wants to know, so she sent a $5 contribution.
Okay,
Thank
Colleen.
you, Colleen.
I think we can do one more
Sure,
sip.
Colleen.
Cheers.
All right, thank you, Colleen.
3. Can't do the 7 years of bad luck thing.
That's not bad luck, it's bad sex. That's even worse.
Well, that is bad luck.
Even worse. Okay, Colleen would like to know, she loves our live chat. It said, have you met any nasty people? And of course, our village has followed up that'd be a great band name, the Nasty People.
I like the other band name. Nasty people.
Really not.
I
Not
think
for
we
me.
have. I've probably forgotten about them pretty quickly.
Go with the nasty flow if you want to get the band names, combine the two.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's life. I mean, do you ever meet nasty people in life? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
RVing
there are
and this
people
is
that
still
you
life.
won't agree with and won't.
But the great that you got
Naturally.
wheels, you pack up and move on.
Your house
That's actually
can
one of the-
move.
yeah.
I think we've all had we've got to stay short or something just because it's just not the right vibe around you.
I don't
or,
think it's usually nasty. For us, I think it's usually inconsiderate.
yeah.
It's not the nasty.
Or they are at the campground for different reasons than us. It may
Right.
not be inconsiderate. Like, we're there to relax or work.
They're
and have
the
quiet
party.
time.
And they're there for the
having
family
a family
reunion.
reunion.
Right.
or the big
That's not
hoot nanny.
nasty. That's
Yes.
just life.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you'll find that a lot on holiday weekends and stuff, especially in national parks or state parks where people do a lot of weekending. And people that are full timers like us, especially people who work full time as well, are so much more professional and quiet and relaxed in our environments. But people that only get to get out for a couple weekends a year,
Right.
that's their big blowout. They
Sure.
want
They-
their
they have the
campfire,
coolers
they
of beer.
want their
Yeah,
beer, they want their
absolutely.
big blowout weekend.
And they should.
And they should, yeah.
Absolutely. That's,
So you just got to be
yeah,
mindful
they're
and
totally
aware
entitled
if
to
that's
that.
gonna happen.
But then we celebrate. It's like Monday. It's Monday. Everybody's leaving. It's, all the full timers are doing a happy dance on Monday.
That's right. Hey, did you see? I saw Driving and Vibing in there as well.
Yes.
Oh my
God,
Kyle
I
and
love Olivia.
Olivia are here, and they sent us a contribution.
No, you guys, awesome.
Cheers.
Hey,
Cheers.
guys.
I'm
Uh-oh.
out of wine.
Carl and
Uh-oh.
Olivia, how's your
Mine too.
Airstream renovation going?
This is
Argosy.
There's more
How
over
close
there.
are you to finish the Argosy? Because you went out to the Escapers Convergence.
You came
You
back.
presented, and you were hanging out with
Morton's on the Move
Morton's on the
and
Move
RV
and the
Geeks.
RV Geeks. And
All right,
you're
so they
back.
have a question for us all.
Uh-huh.
I think this is for an individual one. Is
Oh!
What is your spirit animal?
Yeah, I know mine.
Chris?
No, I need a second.
I'm a
Julie seems
monkey.
to know her.
I'm a monkey.
She is a bit of a monkey.
All right, Mark.
Why do you feel
Yeah,
you're a monkey?
I think maybe because it's my Chinese astrological thing, it's a monkey. And I just relate to the monkey antics.
Nothing to do with the
thing.
fact that you're about as tall as a monkey.
No, there are monkeys
Well,
that are
there's
much
little
taller.
monkeys and there's big monkeys.
Okay,
There's like gorillas and stuff. Cause they're
Yeah, but I don't
technically
think there's
monkeys.
any monkeys smaller than you. I mean, you're right at the small scale.
Oh, sure.
Well, then I could just be like a guinea pig or something, right? But no, I'm a monkey, and that's all I got to say about that.
How about
You?
you, Cherie?
Oh, dolphin.
She's
definitely
definitely
a
a
dolphin.
dolphin.
Oh, definitely dolphin.
Yes.
And reason? Is there a reason why, or just she
It
just
has
feel
to
it?
be-
Doesn't have to be a reason. It's just
Yeah, no,
curious.
I've always felt really connected to the dolphin, and yeah, I've had some of my most spiritual experiences being in the wild with them. So
That's cool.
Hmm.
What do you
Chris, you got one?
It's got to be something that flies, but I'm not
Yeah.
really.
An
Pterodactyl?
eagle?
See, I was feeling something flying too.
Yeah.
My first thought. I've never really thought of spirit animal before, but I first came to like an eagle or something. You know that something that's noble yet still.
Although actually, I have always had a wolf that visits me when my eyes are closed. So I guess maybe I've got a wolf.
Three wolves?
Wolves don't fly.
and a moon.
Yeah,
and a
3 wolves
full
and a wolf. But wolves don't fly. but I can. I'm flying wolf. I don't know.
moon. A
It's,
flying wolf.
There you go.
as I have
We
for
need
a
to
long
wrap
time
up the
had
wine,
a.
I think, here.
It's complicated. A flying wolf.
It's
What do
all
you-
Okay,
good.
Mark. What
I think I know what you are.
I was going with the eagle. What do you had
Oh,
an idea?
I thought you were
for
going to
me?
be a dog.
A dog?
Because you love dogs.
I do love dogs. I
He
love
loves
dogs,
dogs.
but I don't know.
You're an eagle.
My answer to it was just what came to me. I don't know.
There you go.
Okay.
Never really thought of that question.
Good
before.
question, driving Robin.
All right, so where are we staying? Just sent a $4 donation.
Oh,
And
and
we
have a
used
great
to
week.
have
We
to
don't need to
open
do
it.
anything for that.
Julie is the only one who can drink to that unless we open
Uh-oh.
another bottle of wine.
Oh gosh.
All right,
Thank
you.
Cheers. Thank you. Where are we staying?
We didn't have to do anything for
Oh,
that.
you just have a great week.
That was
Thank
sweet.
you. That was nice
Thank
of
you,
you.
We don't
to
have
say.
to work for that one.
Well, yeah, I did.
It has been a great week. We actually are really enjoying that we're being much more balanced in our work-life balance this
Yay.
year. So, hats off to ourselves. So
You guys took a social media break even.
we did. We took
It's
a week
amazing.
on social media, and then we also did a week cruise. We took an actual real
Nice.
vacation, the first one we've done in over a year.
Did you
well
check
over a year.
email on the cruise?
We did
Yeah,
not.
she was posting on social media.
I
from
did
the
a couple of
cruise.
social media posts
Uh-huh.
because I'd scheduled some blog posts and videos from our
No, there
vacation.
was some live stuff from Technomadia. I remember seeing.
Wasn't
those.
live.
What?
Was it?
No,
Go
you
check.
you were
You were there.
you were on the cruise at the time. 'cause
Oh yeah, but
know
I
your
thought you meant
cruise
like yes,
schedule.
yes. Wow, I told you she stalks us. Right?
Yes.
I did do a couple of posts from.
I did not.
Marc
I turned off
never
my
does any
computer
social
and phone
media.
when I stepped foot on it, and I did not turn them
I did
on.
a couple of social media posts, and that's it. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, so I think it's time for us to wrap this up.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Wow, almost 200 people on now.
And RV Frida, if you want the name of the park, contact either of us, and we'll let you
I'll
know.
let you know.
We'd love to have you over here.
Food is awesome.
Yes.
Oh, this was so much fun, guys. Thanks for
Thank you
inviting
for
us over to do
organising
this.
this.
Is awesome.
This all came together very quickly. We only were
last
communicating
night,
yesterday.
We were like chatting to each other last night. It's like, let's do this. Okay, wait. Are we gonna do this? Am I gonna get this video produced in time?
Yeah, Cherie's like, oh, I can't do it now. I've got to do the video. And like an hour later, she's like, oh, we've done the video. Of course you have.
If you haven't seen that video, that's really fun to watch. Because it was really fun
We look
for
a
us
lot
to watch.
younger.
Because to look back 4 years ago when we first met you
And
guys
your-
in person,
And your pants had a lot fewer wrinkles back then.
they did.
They were ironed.
I love them better, like wrinkled. I think that's a better
Wrinkled.
look.
Me
better.
too. I don't know
Wrinkles
what I
better.
was thinking. Just hint, like, we've been on the road now for coming up 5 years in June, and I never use the iron.
An iron's probably not worth the space and weight in an RV.
Unless it's for self-defense.
We've
There's
got
probably
we
better options,
have
like
other
the
options.
cork pop.
Yes.
Because that can fend against vampires.
Oh,
Yeah.
Captain Chris and Elise are here. Our training
Hey,
captains
guys.
are here.
Hey, awesome.
Good to see you guys, or not see you guys. It's good for you to see us.
That's fun.
Oh,
Huge
oh,
crowd
we-
tonight, my
Yeah,
goodness.
big crowd.
The
It
guy,
was
what was the
awesome.
peak?
We Joe says he saw 195 at one point.
Dang.
I saw 195 too. Well, I'm really glad that it
I can't
finished
see
when
the
it did
screen.
because we had a bottle of Prosecco, a bottle of red wine, and that's all I think I can handle.
All right. Thank you guys for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this time with Marc and Julie. I know
Thank you
we
for
certainly
organizing.
have.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's been
And
awesome.
And see you next time.
Okay, I'll put the little
Have a
Make
great
sure you
evening,
subscribe to
everyone.
both of our channels.
Yep.
Give
We
us
love
thumbs
TV. Technomadia. Technomadia.
Yeah, I'll
That's
give
a
you a little bit of the
Technomadia.
video loop again here to take us out.
Bye.
So what do you said something about your pants?
Well,
You,
what's so
I need to
funny
say
is
live
this was
soon.
filmed in
How do
February
you
of
do that?
2015.
How did I
And
do that?
Catherine
you
says it
can't
was
see
very
my pants in
entertaining
this.
watching you get
And that's the
tipsy
first time I
talking
ever
about the
used
nomad
my
life.
iron in the oven.
Both audios are
Pants
still
for
on.
this interview because we were so excited and nervous to be interviewed by Chris and Cherie of Technomadia, and you can't even see the pants. And I've never used the iron again since.
it's so awesome.
Don't pack an iron in the oven. You're just really not ever going to use it.
But, yeah, I don't even remember noticing your pants then, so you know. That's...
They're lovely and ironed, kind of looking. That is so funny. We look so young.
We do
We've
look like we've
aged.
aged a bit.
We have aged a bit. Yeah. Oh,
Well, that was
God.
all in the last 6 months, I thought.
I think a lot of the aging has been the last 6
2018 has
months.
been a lot of aging. Yeah,
Yes.
we packed like 3 years into 1 year this year, so yeah.
All
but
right.
it's
Well,
really
let's
funny.
have you watch this footage.
Mhm.
It's unedited. I haven't spliced it
Okay.
up yet.
I'm impressed you still have it.
And yeah, I had about 3 episodes. I never got around to producing because we got tired.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's let you watch
It's
it,
gonna
and
be
then
funny.
I'd love to do a little update on it, and then we'll
Okay.
get this published.
Cool.
Sure, that'd be great.
Age range or age,
Oh, this is
your blog name,
hilarious.
and then when you started RV, full-time RV.
Okay. I'm really pretty confident Chris did this on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spend more time in front of the camera than she does.
Alright.
I'm the editor. That's extra wrinkles.
Hello, it's Marc, it's Julie, RV Love. We've been on the road since May of 2014, so we're pretty newbies to this. Only been about 7-8 months so far.
Newbies. Look at them now, jaded veterans.
Jaded veterans.
Saying. So what do you said something about your pants?
Well, what's so funny is this was filmed in February of 2015, and you can't see my pants in this. And that's the first time I ever used my iron in the RV was to iron my linen pants for this interview because we were so excited and nervous to be interviewed by Chris and Cherie of Technomadia, and you can't even see the pants. And I've never used the iron again since.
it's so awesome.
Don't pack an iron in the RV. You're just really not ever going to use it.
But, yeah, I don't even remember noticing your pants then, so you know. That's...
They're lovely and ironed, kind of looking. That is so funny. We look so young.
We do
We've
look like
aged.
we've aged a bit.
We have aged a bit. Yeah. Oh,
Well, that was
God.
all in the last 6 months, I thought.
I think a lot of the aging has been the last 6
2018 has
months.
been a lot of aging. Yeah,
Yes.
we packed like 3 years into 1 year this year, so yeah.
All
but
right.
it's
Well,
really
let's
funny.
have you watch this footage.
Mhm.
It's unedited. I haven't spliced it
Okay.
up yet.
I'm impressed you still have it.
And yeah, I had about 3 episodes. I never got around to producing because we got tired.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's let you watch
It's
it,
gonna
and
be
then
funny.
I'd love to do a little update on it, and then we'll
Okay.
get this published.
Cool.
Sure, that'd be great.
Age range or